Yes, I cheated on you. If you had more money, I would have never left you. My girlfriend left me for my boss to live a rich life. But when he dumped her, she came back begging me to take her back like nothing had happened. My name's Levi. I'm 31 years old, and until recently, I was in a relationship with Fatima, who is 28. We were together for almost 4 years. It was, or at least I thought it was, the most stable and sincere relationship I had ever had in my life. We met when I was working at a small financial consulting firm. She had just finished university. She graduated in marketing, but she had been without a job for months. Despite that, she always tried to stay positive. She said that sooner or later everything would fall into place, that it wasn't worth despairing. I admired that about her, her patience, her faith that things would get better. We had been living together for a little over a year. We both had goals, projects, and, above all, the dream of building something serious. My job wasn't spectacular, but it gave me enough to cover expenses and live with some peace of mind. At that time, I worked as a financial advisor at an advertising company, a medium-sized company, but with a good reputation. My boss, Marcelo, was 45 years old. He was an intelligent, charismatic guy, one of those who know how to win everyone's sympathy, although I always felt that behind that smile there was something manipulative. But I couldn't say much. He was my boss, and at that moment he treated me well. I remember perfectly the day the idea that would later end up ruining me occurred to me. Fatima had been frustrated for weeks because she couldn't find a job. I saw her getting more and more discouraged. One day at the office, during lunch, I casually mentioned the situation to Marcelo. He asked me what she had studied, and when I told him it was marketing, he replied, "Wow, we're actually looking for someone to support the social media and campaigns area. Tell her to send her resume, or if you want, bring it yourself, and we'll look at it right away." It seemed like a great opportunity to me. I came home excited and told Fatima. At first, she hesitated a little. She said she didn't want anyone to think she got in because of my recommendation, but I convinced her. I told her it didn't matter how she got the interview. The important thing was that she showed her talent. A few days later, I took her resume. Marcelo reviewed it and told me he would interview her personally. A week later, Fatima went to the office. I remember she was very nervous that day. She prepared from early in the morning, went over what she would say, and left with a mix of anxiety and hope. When the interview ended, she sent me a message that said, "It went well. I think the boss liked me." The next day, Marcelo called me to his office and told me, "Your girlfriend is good. She has initiative and good ideas. If all goes well, she could stay." And so it was. 2 days later, she was hired. I was happy, not only because she had finally found a job, but because we were going to share the same place. It was a nice feeling to see her getting ready every morning to go to the office with me. We had lunch together. We shared coffee during breaks. Everything seemed perfect. During the first few weeks, everything went well. She adapted quickly, got along with everyone, and excelled in her area. In fact, Marcelo began to give her more and more responsibilities. Sometimes he joked that I had recommended her too well. I laughed without giving it much importance. A few months passed, and everything was going smoothly until one day Fatima's department had to make schedule adjustments for a new project. She moved to the evening shift, from 2 in the afternoon to 9 at night. I was still on the normal shift, from 8 to 5. That meant we no longer coincided in our schedules, not for lunch, not for leaving. I didn't like the idea very much, but I understood it was temporary. At first, there were no significant changes. Sometimes I waited for her after work to pick her up. Other times, she told me she would leave later because of meetings or deadlines. It was understandable. The company was growing, and there was a lot of movement. However, as the weeks went by, I began to notice certain things I didn't like. First, Marcelo began to make strange jokes when he talked about Fatima. Sometimes he would drop comments like, "Your girlfriend is the most dedicated in the group and the prettiest too." Or he would say out loud things like, "Levi, be careful. If you don't treat her well, I'll steal her from you." Everyone laughed, even her, but I didn't find it funny. Once, in an informal meeting, he mentioned in front of several colleagues that Fatima brightened up his shift. It was a joke, supposedly, but it made me uncomfortable. When we left the office, I told Fatima I didn't think it was appropriate. She told me not to worry, that they were just jokes, and that Marcelo was like that with everyone. I tried not to make a problem out of it, but the truth is that something in me was already starting to feel uneasy. One day, during a dinner with some colleagues, Marcelo came over and said to me in a mocking tone, "I don't know how you manage to concentrate knowing your girlfriend works here." I couldn't. I'd be looking at that woman all day. That was the first time I felt rage. That night, when we got home, I asked Fatima to please stay away from him or at least not to be alone with him. She told me I was exaggerating, that Marcelo was just joking and that she would never pay him any attention. "I like him, but I'm not interested, Levi. Don't worry," she said, hugging me. I trusted her, or at least I wanted to. But as the days went by, things got worse. Fatima started to change. She no longer wrote to me during the day. She would arrive later than usual, and when I asked, she always had a justification. The meeting ran late. Marcelo asked us to stay longer. We had to close out a campaign. I didn't want to think the worst. I kept telling myself it was work, that she was working hard, that I myself was the one who brought her there. However, the distance between us began to become evident. Sometimes I would come home and find her distracted, as if she were absent. Other times, she would shower as soon as she arrived and lock herself away with her cell phone. One night, I asked her directly if something was wrong. She looked at me, sighed, and told me she was tired of me interrogating her, that she couldn't stand me distrusting her. We argued heavily that time. I told her I didn't distrust her, but it hurt me to see her so distant. She didn't answer. She went to sleep without saying anything else. After that, everything went downhill. We no longer had dinners together, or watched movies, or made plans. We barely talked. Every day she seemed colder, more distant. 2 months passed since she changed her shift, and by that point I hardly recognized her. One night, when I asked her why she had arrived so late, she answered in a dry tone, "I already told you we had to stay to review some reports." I replied that it seemed to happen every day and that if she wanted us to stop living together, she just had to say so. She was quiet for a few seconds. Then she looked at me with an expression between tiredness and anger. She told me something I still can't erase from my mind. "All right, I don't want to hide it anymore. Yes, I cheated on you. And yes, it was with Marcelo." I felt the air leave my body. For a moment I thought she was just saying it to hurt me, that it was a way to end the argument, but no. She continued speaking with a coldness that left me paralyzed. "Don't ask me any more questions. It's pointless. He's already outside, waiting for me. I'm leaving with him." I didn't react. I just saw her take her things, some already packed, as if she had planned it. When she opened the door to leave, I heard a car horn. I looked out the window, and there was Marcelo waiting for her with an arrogant smile. Something inside me exploded. I ran downstairs, went out into the street, and went straight for him. I yelled things at him that I don't even remember. He, laughing, told me, "Easy, kid, don't take it so personally." I didn't force her. She came on her own. And that mocking smile was the last thing I could take. I punched him right in the face. I don't know how many times I hit him. I just remember people shouting and trying to separate us. Marcelo wiped the blood from his mouth, and with a calm that chilled my blood, he said, "You're fired." Fatima got into the car without looking at me. Not a word, she just left. That night, I was left alone, sitting on the sidewalk, watching them drive away. Everything I had trusted, everything I had built, fell apart in a matter of minutes. I lost my girlfriend, I lost my job, and, above all, I lost the peace of mind of feeling like I knew the person who slept next to me. I don't know how to go on. I'm writing this just a few hours later. I haven't slept. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face. I hear her words, and I wonder at what point everything changed. I never imagined that helping her would be what would end up destroying me, and, worst of all, I still love her. Update. 3 months have passed since everything happened. And although at first it was one of the hardest stages of my life, today I can say that things are starting to get better. It has not been easy to adapt to all the changes, especially after losing my partner and my job at the same time. It took me several weeks to process everything, but little by little I am finding stability. The first few days were chaos. I felt empty, with no desire for anything. I didn't sleep well, I barely ate, and every corner of the apartment reminded me of Fatima. For weeks I asked myself over and over again where I failed, if there was something I could have done differently, but over time I understood that it's useless to torture yourself with that. There are things that simply do not depend on you. On a professional level, it was also complicated. After the incident with Marcelo, I was left with an uncomfortable reputation, not for having done anything wrong in my job, but for how everything ended. Some colleagues wrote to me to say they were sorry about what happened. Others simply distanced themselves. Luckily, after many interviews and rejections, I got a new job at a smaller company, but with a much healthier environment. In fact, the salary is a little better than the previous one, and that has helped me to stabilize financially. Sometimes I think about how ironic it is. The same event that destroyed me also ended up leading me to something better. Emotionally, I'm still in process. I'm not going to lie, there are still days when I think about her. I haven't seen her again, nor have I had direct contact, but I have seen some things on social media. I don't have her as a friend, but sometimes she appears in shared posts or in public stories. I saw photos of her in restaurants, in expensive places, and recently I found out that she even traveled to Japan. That hit me a little harder than I thought. Japan was the destination we both dreamed of visiting together. It was a goal we had had for years. We talked about touring Tokyo, trying the local food, visiting temples, and taking thousands of photos. Seeing her there, fulfilling that dream, but with another person, was a painful reminder that the plans we once shared no longer exist. I can't lie, that part hurt me. It made me feel replaced, as if everything we planned had meant nothing. But then I took a deep breath and tried to see it from another point of view. If that was her dream, at least she fulfilled it. And although we didn't do it together, maybe it was something she had to experience without me. Sometimes it makes me a little sad to think about how everything could have been different. I really wanted to marry her. I had plans, savings, ideas about the future that no longer exist now. When I see my friends getting married or starting a family, it gives me that strange feeling of being behind, as if at 31 I should have my life more on track. But I also tell myself that there is no exact age for everything, and that it's better that this happened now and not when we already had children or a marriage in between. If I learned anything from all this, it's that you can't force someone to have the same commitment as you. I gave everything and I don't regret it, but I also understood that loving someone doesn't always mean that that person will reciprocate in the same way. Now I am focused on improving, on working, on being myself again. I don't know if I will fall in love again soon, but I do know that I don't want to close my heart because of a betrayal. Every day that passes, I feel a little more at peace. And although there are still wounds that will take time to heal, at least it doesn't hurt to breathe anymore. I guess that's already a good start. Update. 7 months have passed since that night when Fatima left with my boss. I thought I was over it. I can't say that everything is completely forgotten, but I had learned to live without her. The new job was going well. I felt stable, and although I still had some emotional ups and downs, my life was beginning to get back on a calm track until a few days ago. My heart is still racing as I write this, because what happened was completely unexpected. I never imagined I would see her again, and much less in the way it happened. It was a Friday afternoon. I had just gotten home from work. I was preparing some dinner when I heard loud knocks on the door. I thought it would be the neighbor or a package, but when I opened it, I was paralyzed. There she was, Fatima, standing in front of my door, with 2 large suitcases by her side, her hair a little messy and a desperate look in her eyes. I didn't know what to say. My body was frozen. She, with a nervous smile, just said, "I'm back, love. I'm sorry for everything. But in the end, my heart brought me back to you." I didn't answer her. My first reaction was to close the door, but she held it and continued talking. "Please, listen to me. Don't close the door on me, Levi. I just want to talk to you." I took a deep breath, hesitating whether to do it or not. I finally opened it, and there, in front of me, with the suitcases on the floor, she looked at me with tears in her eyes and began to speak quickly, as if she feared I would interrupt her. "The truth is, I never stopped loving you. I always thought about you. I just felt that I had to test myself, to know if I really deserved you. That's why I left. I thought that if I went away, I could understand what I felt for you. Believe me, not for a moment did I stop thinking about you. I know you wanted us to get married, and here I am, love. Now I know that you are the love of my life." When she finished speaking, she took a step towards me and tried to hug me. She even tried to kiss me. I stepped back. "Get away," I told her with my voice trembling with contained rage. "Do you think I'm going to believe that?" She looked at me confused, as if she didn't understand. "What are you saying?" she asked. "Did you leave to give yourself the high life?" "No," I said. "You took off with my boss, with his money, with his promises. And now that that bastard left with someone younger, you come back here pretending you love me. Get out of my house and don't look for me anymore." She began to cry. Her tears were real, but her voice sounded rehearsed. Okay, she said between sobs. Yes, it's true. I left with him. He promised me a life of luxury, that we were going to get married in a few months. He bought me clothes. He took me traveling, even to Japan, but it was all a lie. She lowered her head and continued. I found out he had at least 3 other women. When I confronted him, he got angry and threw me out. I was left alone, without money, without a job, without anyone. I listened to her in silence. I didn't feel compassion, only tiredness. That's not my problem, I replied. You already made your decision. Now live with the consequences. Get out. She shook her head, approaching again. Please, Levi, don't do this to me. You were always my love, the only one who treated me well. I know I failed, but I want to try again. I swear I'll do whatever you want. Whatever, just give me another chance. I was already losing my patience. No, Fatima, there's nothing to talk about. It's over. I don't want you here. Then, as if something inside her broke, she changed completely. Her gaze turned cold, her tears stopped. From one moment to the next, her sadness turned into rage. She looked at me with contempt and began to scream. Damn you. You're a damn bastard. If you had had more money, I never would have left you. You're a mediocre, poor man, and you're never going to get out of where you are. Idiot, little man. I took a step back, surprised by the change in tone. She pushed me in the chest with both hands. I held her by the arms to prevent her from continuing to hit me. Let go of me, she screamed. You're hurting me. I wasn't hurting her, I was just holding her to calm her down, but her screams attracted the attention of the neighbors. In seconds, 2 of them came out. One, who didn't know me well, approached and shouted from the gate. Little man, pick on someone your own size. I tried to explain, but he wouldn't let me speak. Luckily, another neighbor, Mario, who was close to me, came out too. He approached the first one and gave him a small slap on the head with his palm, telling him, Shut up, idiot. She's the one who's wrong. He's just restraining her. The other neighbor fell silent, confused, and ended up leaving, muttering something. Mario entered the hallway of my house, looked at me, and said, What's going on here, Levi? I let go of Fatima's arms and took a step back. She started crying again, but this time it didn't seem like sadness, but helplessness. Mario, seeing the situation, took out his phone and said aloud, I'm going to record this. If she keeps screaming, I'm calling the police. Hearing that, Fatima got scared. She began to pick up her things, looking around nervously. Before leaving, she stopped at the door, looked at us with contempt and said, Poor wage earners, little men. You'll never be able to support a real woman. Then she took her suitcases and walked quickly down the street without looking back. When she disappeared from my sight, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Mario came in with me and closed the door. We sat on the couch, both of us in silence for a few seconds. Finally, he told me, Brother, don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong. If I hadn't come out, that other neighbor would have surely called the police or made a scene. I told him everything about my boss, the betrayal, the trip, and now her return. Mario sighed and told me something that stuck with me. You're not the first one this has happened to. Something similar happened to me. Only in my case, everyone believed her. I was left alone, without friends, and with a false complaint. That's why I came out, because I saw in your face the same fear I had that day. You didn't deserve it. We kept talking for a while longer. He advised me that if she came looking for me again, not to let her in. He also told me that it was better to save the video as a precaution, in case she tried to make something up. When he left, I stayed in silence processing everything. The house still smelled of her perfume, the one I had liked so many times, but now, instead of nostalgia, it provoked revulsion. I thought about everything that had happened since I met her. I remembered how I got her that job, how I trusted her, how I defended her, and how in the end she betrayed me. And now, after having humiliated and destroyed me, she came back looking for refuge because her best option had left her. That night, I had trouble sleeping, not because of sadness, but because of the intensity of it all. But when I finally closed my eyes, I felt something different. Not hatred, not resentment, but peace. For the first time, I understood that there was nothing left between us. She was not the same person I had loved, or, perhaps, she never was. She had only deceived me with an image that I myself wanted to believe. And although everything she said hurt, it also helped me confirm something. I no longer loved her, I no longer wanted to go back. The past can hurt, but being trapped in it hurts much more. This time I didn't break down. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just locked the door, turned off the lights, and sat down to think about everything I had learned. Sometimes life takes someone away from you not as a punishment, but as protection. And although late, today I understand.